Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So as you can tell by the thumbnail and probably the title of this video, this isn't going to be an iPad drawing video or any digital of that sort, except for like, I guess this part where I did use one of my digital sketches to actually use for the painting for today. I did do the sketching on Procreate, and I did a quick mock-up of the colors that I wanted to use so I could have an easier idea of how I wanted to paint this, because I was definitely worried about the colors. So I kind of just wanted to give that disclaimer just because I know a lot of you guys, and I mean a lot, I mean a lot of you guys decided to subscribe to this channel because you saw my iPad videos, like whether or not it's the ASMR videos or it's the sketch with me videos. Like there's two videos in particular that is receiving a lot of attention for some reason, but if you're sticking around, thank you very much. If not, if you're not genuinely interested in my art or anything, I would just suggest you unsubscribe basically. But thank you very much for the support and a lot of your lovely comments on the last few videos. I'm gonna be doing a Q&A video hopefully for Saturday, and I will be doing a digital drawing session on the iPad. Hopefully it'll be either pre-recorded drawing, like a drawing session, or it'll be real time. So I'll figure that out because I'm really poor at multitasking while doing drawing. So yeah, but today I wanted to do a watercolor painting just because watercolor painting, like watercolor in general, is like one of my favorite mediums to work with, especially like traditionally. I think pencil would be my #1 medium. I just love sketching in general, but the way I love adding color or like building up, I don't know, like rendering and stuff, I just really love using watercolors. It's always been my favorite. I love the vibrancy, I love the process of it. But recently I've been struggling just doing traditional medium in general, hence why there was like an influx of the iPad videos on my channel. A lot of the videos I had planned that were like traditional mediums, or like sketchbook doodle sessions or anything like that, or like sketch with me's that were in my sketchbook. I decided to scrap all of them just because I wasn't happy with the result, or I got really bogged down in not being able to produce something I liked. So if I don't like it, I'm definitely not going to put it up on YouTube or anything, or like even on Instagram or anywhere. I just want to keep it for myself and just try to learn from what I did wrong or why I don't like it. So this particular piece, which is of my OC Masaki, which we'll talk a little bit later in this video, since I did try to do my best to condense this video. I will put the time of how much time I spent painting, because I don't know, I was trying to make it below half an hour, like all the condensed footage and stuff, and edit as much stuff I could out, but it's exceeded 30 minutes. I'm sorry if you don't like long videos, but here you go. But yeah, I'll put this the amount of time I took to paint this on the screen so you guys can tell how much time I actually spent painting this versus like what you're seeing, because at least on a lot of my iPad videos, I actually saw a lot of people saying like, wow, she draws really fast for like in half an hour, like she's able to produce something in half an hour. And I'm just like, a lot of the iPad videos, and yeah, just the iPad videos in general, they will take me a minimum, I think at least an hour. And if I do end up like rendering it to a point where it's not like very sketchy, or it's a lot cleaner, it'll be about either an hour and a half to like, it could go up to like 4 hours. I've done pieces like but spent 4 hours. I even have a piece of Ignots that I took like 14 hours, I believe, because I was a noob at painting. But yeah, I'm definitely not super fast, so I'm sorry if like that video somewhat deceived you. I thought it was a little bit obvious that it, like everything was like choppy and edited out, but yeah, I did not draw everything in half an hour. You guys are gonna have to bear with me. My laptop fan is going hard and heavy right now. But yeah, a little bit about this piece. So I am drawing my OC Masaki, And the reason being is because I wanted to get back into painting, and I know that Masaki is a very comfortable character for me to draw and paint. He has a very enjoyable color palette, at least to me. I really like teals with like the warm browns that he has in his whole outfit. And I like drawing him with flowers because he's a florist, or part-time florist. Yeah, so I think according to Instagram, it's either in May or March. I believe it's in March. March was the last time I've ever done a watercolor illustration, I guess, on hot press paper. And I used to paint like a whole lot. Like I would at least paint like a few things every week. But so far I've only maybe doodled every other week. And if I'm lucky, I would have done maybe like 1 or 2 chibis like in a week. But I haven't been painting a lot, and I've been losing confidence in painting, so I needed this piece to turn out well, and for me to really just go through the process again of painting how I like to paint, which is how I painted my other Masaki painting. So I did record the other one as well. So it's Masaki basically wearing this cute, almost like mustardy, yellow ochreish backpack, and he has these big purple flowers just coming out of it. And I love this idea of Masaki being like, or at least for this series, he's not actually like this, but like a tiny chibi basically carrying and transporting flowers. So I don't really remember what the flower name for the purple ones are. If I find them, I will put them up on the screen, but if I don't, I'm sorry. Yeah, but today I wanted to paint some hydrangeas. Hydrangeas? I think that's how you say it. I've been told to say hydrangea, and I've been told to say like hydrangea or hydrangeas, and it's kind of like either or. I'm pretty sure it's hydrangeas, but yeah, I decided to paint those with Masaki because I really like these kind of flowers, like really small clustered up flowers. I think they're really pretty, and the colors are very pastel, which is something that I wanted to push myself to not over render, because I really like vibrancy in watercolor and like building up a lot of contrast in terms of like the shadows versus like the base color. But I know that I shouldn't do that for the flowers because they should look a little bit more soft, a little bit more delicate, and definitely more pastel than what I'm used to. But yeah, so in terms of process, I started off with the sketch in Procreate because I was actually out yesterday, so it was just more convenient for me to bring my iPad when I was out. I did a quick sketch of Masaki, and then I duplicated the sketch and did some coloring underneath so I could get some proper colors, because I was worried if I didn't do a color comp, at least like even if it's just really briefly, I would get too confused of what I wanted to do for the colors. I knew like I wanted pinks and purples and blues for the flowers, and there's greens in the leaves, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to have pink at the top and blue at the bottom, or blue at the top and pink at the bottom. I definitely wanted to have purple as like the transitioning color in between them, just because it was easier for me to make the wash look a little bit more seamless. But I kind of goofed and did the flowers in the opposite way, I guess. In my color comp, I believe I have pink near around his body and his shirt. And the reason being is because his shirt, his turtleneck sweater thing is like teal. As you can see, I'm putting that in right now. And I didn't want the blue and the teal to blend in too much. Like, even though the blue will be very pale, I didn't want them to blend in too much. But for some reason, my brain was like, I wanted to do something I did for my other Masaki piece, which is add a light wash of yellow to the, I guess more towards like the upper left side of the whole painting, which is only the figures and the flowers. But I didn't realize that if I put yellow down and I want blue on the, I guess near his face area, then I will be ending up with a lot of like more of a green. So I decided to put pink there so I could blend it with the yellow so it looks a little bit more seamless and there won't be any kind of like green showing up from the flowers, which made me push blue to the bottom, which was what I was trying to avoid, and that didn't work out. But because like I said, because the colors are more pastel compared to Masaki's outfit, I think in the end it does work. But it should have been something like I was should have been a little bit more conscious to avoid, but I didn't do that. So right now I'm blocking in the little bit of like ground and a little bit of stray pieces of grass just to indicate that he is standing outside, as well as I wanted him to look a little bit more grounded. Yeah, I think that's about it in terms of, actually, in terms of process. So after I was done doing the sketch on the iPad and the quick color mock-up, after I returned home, I decided to print it out on some tracing paper, and I basically printed it out on a normal A4 sized, or not A4, letter size paper. But my watercolor paper is 8 by 10, so I did have to shrink it down a little bit, and so that it will fit appropriately. He still had quite a big chibi on the paper, but I think it matches nicely with my other one, which you'll see at the very end that I'll show you guys both. Yeah, I think they look very cute. So after I was done basically printing out the sketch onto the tracing paper, I took my light pad. I have the Gaomon light pad. I'll have everything listed in cards, so like whenever a new material or anything appears on the screen, I'll put them in a card. Anything that hasn't appeared on the screen but I did use, I'll also have that in the beginning so you guys are aware of what tools and materials that I used to get to this point. But yeah, so I would put my watercolor paper on top of the tracing paper and then put both on top of the light pad, and that's how I got the really clean pencil sketch onto the watercolor paper. As for the pencil, I just use a normal HB mechanical pencil in 0.5 lead, and yeah, tried my best to erase as little as possible, as well as I'm not pressing super duper hard with the pencil because I don't want to create grooves into the paper. I'm just using pencil so that I know where things go. If anyone is familiar with the way I use watercolors would know that I do the line art also in watercolors with the same brush, which is the Raphael Kolinsky No. 6 round brush. It's just the process of doing line work after I've done like all the color and the majority of like building up the shadows and stuff is just more satisfying to me, and it makes the most sense. I don't really enjoy doing line art before I paint. Before I used to do that with like for a lot of my illustrations and like chibi works and stuff, I would do the line work beforehand, but I realized how weak I am at inking with like pens. I'm very like, how to explain this? Not fluid with my lines. I definitely need to practice inking, but for now, using a brush is just, for me, is more fluid. I have a little bit more control. Like when I'm using the pens or like fine liners, I'm very rigid. Like I'm too worried about making things look clean or making things have like I guess like consistency, which is something I don't really like, I guess, from looking at my own line work. I would like to get better or switch to using maybe a brush pen for line work or something I can make lines a little bit more seamlessly for myself. And I found that I actually like doing line work with a brush, so that's what I do. I usually do line work either at the very end of putting in all the shadows and stuff and building up tone and color and value at the end, or I will do it midway when I'm finished certain sections. So I believe my brain's having trouble. As you can see, I rendered the eyes like first. I darkened up the eyes first because I was worried about the eyes not looking correct. So in my sketch, I drew his eyes pretty big, and they looked a little bit too big when I printed it out. I didn't alter it or anything. I just winged it, I guess, and they're an okay size. I just wanted to make sure they look okay, so I did render them first and darken up like the outline of his eyes. And as you can see, I'm doing the skin right now, even though I didn't do any shadows for the hair or his apron or anything below, I guess like his waist, just because I wanted to make sure that I can make things look clean. And the thing that I like doing is that if I do line work about maybe 70% the way done shadows. That didn't make sense, but the line work tends to be the darkest portion of any of my colors that I laid down. So if I laid down the outline for the skin like I did there, I can add blush in later and I don't have to worry about the blush being the darkest thing, because I just have to make sure that the blush is lighter than basically my line work color, which makes it a little bit easier for me, because like if you establish your lights and your darks, then you just have to play around with your midtones so to make it look a little bit more seamless, I guess. But if I'm keep building up just the shadows, sometimes I'm gonna make stuff a little too dark, and when I'm doing the line work, I have to make the line work pretty close to black if I want it to show up, which is something I don't want to do because I don't like using black, or for me it kind of defeats the purpose. Because another thing why I like using the brush for line work is because I can pretty much pick whatever color I want, and it helps that I'm using watercolors, because as long as I'm confident in mixing the colors that I want, I can use whatever color I want for the line work. And to me it makes like the illustration look a little bit softer. I think in some areas, especially like you'll see later on near the end when I'm doing the flowers, I could have pulled back using such a dark line work for the leaves and the flowers, but I think in the end it still looks really cute. Yeah, since we're about like halfway, this voiceover, I say a lot, geez. Okay, so because we're halfway with this voiceover and this video, I am going to, actually, disclaimer, I should have said this in the beginning, but the watercolor palette that I'm using, like the paints in the watercolor palette, you can figure out what my palette is composed of if you find my, I think it's my most used supplies, or it's my favorite supplies. It's like a video that's like named that or whatever, but I do have a whole, I don't know, there's a part in the video where you can pause, and I have like, I listed all the paints that I use that is in the palette. The majority of my palette is Holbein paints, so if that's what you're interested in, you can go check out that video, and then it will have everything for you listed there, okay? Okay, so let's talk about my OCs for a little bit, because during some of my weird late night live streams that I did recently, because I haven't streamed in a while, a few of you actually asked that I could talk about my OCs, more particularly Masaki. But I think some of you guys are interested in like learning about my other OCs like Koji, Sato, and Hansuke. So technically I only have 4 OCs. I have, I think, about 13 abandoned OCs back from like junior high, high schoolish era kind of thing. I won't talk about too much about my art journey or like my age or anything like that. I'll leave that for the Q&A video, which will come out on Saturday, and I'll try to make that as condensed as I can, but try to make it a little bit more informative so that you guys get your questions answered. Okay, so I'll talk about Masaki. So Masaki's full name is Masaki Matsumoto. I did a little bit of research on what kind of name I wanted to give Masaki, and I want it to be more like plant related, so it does mean true or bloom, or I guess like both of his the characters, like the kanji characters, mean true and bloom, so I thought that fits Masaki a little bit better. He's 21 years old. He is a part-time florist, as well as he attends university learning botany and floriculture. And yeah, basically I wanted an OC so that I could study flowers and stuff on my own time, and then I could incorporate whatever I study with a character, which in this case would be Masaki. He's 179 centimeters and he is born on May 2nd. Let's see, what else do I have like listed about him? So I don't know if I want to talk about his story per se. I don't really have intentions of writing a story for my characters. So basically Masaki, Koji, and Sato are technically from the same quote-unquote, like I guess like story or like storyline, same universe. Hansuke, who is like my little green cat mascot, he is kind of like a mascot character in the same universe. So like he'd be like the Hello Kitty or like the Pikachu of their universe kind of thing. Because I actually often draw Hansuke or Masaki holding a stuffy that is Hansuke's head, or like I guess a Hansuke stuffy. But yeah, so for Masaki, he actually works part-time as a florist at this kind of like old-timey small flower shop, I guess, that's run by this old couple. And this old couple is actually ends up being, I guess, Koji's grandparents. I don't know how to explain this in a proper way. So basically, Masaki helps this couple out because I guess like Masaki was just visiting this town just because he wanted to get away from some stress and stuff, and he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life or anything. He's very like lost, I guess, as an 18-year-old, and he decides to like chill out next to this flower shop. He didn't know it was a flower shop because at the time it's like maybe 6-7 a.m. in the morning. He's just like out and about, and he just lays in front of like this river. I have like a whole scene in my head. I don't know how to explain it, but basically he helps the old couple because they're getting like robbed or something from their shop, and this couple takes a liking to Masaki and they ask if he would like to learn about the flowers. So like every so often, until I guess he's not 18, when he was 17, he would often visit this old couple, and this old couple would teach him about flowers and stuff, and this sparks an interest in Masaki, and he learns that he wants to learn more about the flowers. And then when he graduates high school, he gets into like a botany program, or he does general study first to get into like the botany and floriculture, kind of like biology section of like uni. I need to do more research so that this is more cohesive, because I have no idea if this actually works out. But basically, when the couple decides to, I guess, like retire, they hand off their business to their son, which is Koji's dad. And Koji's dad is very much like a business oriented person. He's really busy, like going overseas and stuff. So he doesn't want to take care of this like rundown flower shop. So they recommend that Masaki will work part-time for Koji's dad. And basically, because Koji's dad's like never there, he's always on business trips and stuff, Masaki is basically just running the shop by himself. So they only open up during certain hours because Masaki can only work part-time, I guess, because he's a student. And then one day during one of his shifts, I guess, when he's working at the flower shops, Koji just like barges in and just like starts yelling, expecting that his dad would be there, because he thinks his dad's working at the flower shop, which he isn't. So that's like how Masaki and Koji meet. So Koji, who is I need to check his age. Is he 13 or 12? He's 12. Okay, so he's 12 years old. If you guys don't know who Koji is, he's like my blonde-ish, gold-haired colored, olive-ish gold. I don't know. I'll make some chibi heads of them and put them on the screen so you know who I'm talking about. Basically, he's this little feisty, fiery, but somewhat clueless little lad that is very pissed off that his dad didn't come support his baseball game, his last one of the season kind of thing. He was kind of pissed off because his dad would promise that he would come, because he never, I guess, like keeps his promises and stuff, and he's like upset, very upset, and he just like barges into the flower shop and just sees Masaki being very clueless at the counter, and that's how they meet. And then Sato is actually Masaki's cousin, and she is, I think, 3 years younger than him, and she decides to work for her parents, which they run a sweets shop, which Masaki and Koji both frequent quite a bit because they both have sweet tooths, more so Koji than Masaki. But yeah, hopefully that kind of wraps up a weird summary of my OCs. Like, it's very scattered because like I don't have things like fleshed out because I have no intentions of technically making a story. Maybe one day in the future if I ever get into story writing or actually illustrating stuff for webtoons. Some people ask like, why don't you make webtoons, or like if you make a webtoon it'd be so cool. I don't have the skill set to do so. I want to be at a point where I'm able to draw backgrounds and like people and expressions and angles and stuff more fluidly before I can tackle something like a webtoon, because I feel like that's very important. And as you can see, I don't draw backgrounds a lot. I literally don't. I just like drawing faces and chibis. That's about it. Chibis and faces. That's it. But I think that's about it. I don't really have much to talk about my OCs. I'll answer a few questions in the Q&A video, because I know some people ask like, who's your favorite OC, or like what's Masaki's favorite food, kind of things, and I'll answer them briefly in that video, I guess. I'm not sure how long that video is gonna go or how exactly I'm gonna record it. I'm still debating because I have to film that tomorrow and that's not great. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'll put a card or like text on the screen prior, but if you don't really watch these videos and you only put them on in the background, which I don't know if people even do that, because my rambling is just very rambly and like it's probably very annoying to listen to. But if you do hear this and you do like watching my traditional work, which I would like to get back into at least as a break from digital work, do let me know if you prefer this kind of editing where it's just real time but like choppy, I guess, like kind of hopping around from what I'm doing in the piece, or do you prefer that I go back to how I used to do it, which would be full-on speed paint, except for that there will be small snippets of areas that I leave as real time. It might actually save some time because I don't want to make all these videos to be half an hour long, for your sanity and my sanity, okay? I think that's about it. I don't know what else to talk about. I believe I finished Masaki up other than the white details, and I'm adding in darker areas for the leaves first before I tackle the flowers. For the flowers, I've drawn hydrangeas a couple of times before. I've done them for like digital illustrations, and I've done 2 paintings where I had to do them for, I believe, a commission and then something else, which I don't really remember, but I remember painting them. But yeah, I did approach them a little bit differently. I did have to do some shadow areas first before I painted some of the petals. Like how I usually like to approach flowers, like I usually like to paint each individual petal, but I thought it won't be appropriate here considering how many flowers there are, and I think it's better if I didn't put too many details so that your eyes are like literally darting everywhere. So I did do the shadows where it was necessary, which was a lot of the darker areas to indicate that these hydrangeas are kind of like clustered, right? So I wanted a little bit more depth. To the people who asked like, can you do tutorials? I hope you can understand why I don't do tutorials. I am very scattered-brained. As you can see, I don't even know why I do the things I do, so I don't think me doing a tutorial would be beneficial for you. Hence that other Hinata drawing session, I stated that I didn't want to do tutorials because it makes me uncomfortable thinking that other people might think I'm doing a tutorial because like they think I'm proficient enough, which in terms of skill I may be okay in some areas, but in terms of like explaining, I have no idea what's going on, honestly. So I'm just outlining some of the leaves, and then I will start to do the line work for pretty much all the flowers. And I think that'll be pretty much the end of the video. Yeah, so I have some footage of me doing the line work for some of the flowers. As you can see, like some of the flowers near the top are like this orangey peachish color, and that's because of that yellow, which made a lot of the stuff on the upper left a little bit warmer. The majority of Masaki's hair highlights are actually yellow now because of that section that I did that was like full on a yellow wash, but I could have got away with a larger wash going down the left side. I could have merged it with purple or something so I could knock it back. Oh wait, That's actually something that I ended up doing after I finished the line work. So I have this lilac color from Holbein, which is like slightly more opaque than my other colors that I own in my palette. So I mixed that with a little bit of one of my blues so I can make it a little bit more cooler. And I put that on top of some areas so that I could push back the flowers and make it look a little bit less like a flower cluster that's like one-dimensional. Like if I push some back, it actually looks like it has more depth, which I think would have worked better. So in my brain, I was hoping that I would have been able to achieve like making the clusters look like, I don't know, like there would have been like a blue one, a purple one, and a pink one. And because like if you see hydrangeas in real life, they're like, the clusters are like dome shaped kind of. So I was hoping to do that, but I didn't achieve that. But I think knocking it back with the purple, that like the layer that I'm putting on right now kind of helps it at least push it back, which I really enjoy. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. The last final step that I do for all my watercolor paintings for the most part is using white gouache for highlights. I don't like using gel pens. My brain is so scattered. My brain's running faster than I can speak at this point, so excuse me. But yeah, I don't like using white gel pens for my watercolor paintings. I find them just unreliable. When they work great, but if they don't work, they tend to skip. Or like, yeah, they basically just skip. I just don't like using them. I rather use, like, similarly to line work, I rather use a brush, and it's just more flowy, I guess, for me. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'm sorry that it's super duper random and kind of rambly, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching me do a watercolor video once in a while. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time with another video, the Q&A video. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, bye!